The true starting point of this entire transformation is to adopt the mindset of a timelessly stylish man. So the key principles are minimalism over flash. You want to avoid ostentatious designs. Style for you is really about timeless pieces and subtle detail. Next up, it's always quality over quantity. You understand style isn't about having super expensive clothing or having a lot of it. Instead, it's about high quality items that are relatively interchangeable with the other pieces in your wardrobe. Therefore, you can own less, mix and match the items, with the result being plenty of timelessly stylish outfits. Next up, you're all about timelessness, not trends. Now, a well-dressed man has nothing against fashion, but when it comes to timeless style, you realize this isn't boring. Yeah, some of these items have been around for over 30, 50, 100 years, but that's what makes them great. They're not going to go out of style anytime soon. And because of that, you can spend more money on individual pieces and buy quality. Last but not least, a man that has timeless style dresses for himself. By that, I mean he understands that his clothing is a tool. It's a representation of how he sees himself, how he respects himself. A timelessly stylish man understands that people are biased, that all of us are human, and that we judge others based off of what we see the vast majority of the time. Yeah, it's shallow, but reality. And a timelessly stylish man uses that to his advantage by wearing clothing that sends the message he wants to send. Next up, understand the fundamentals of fit and proportion. So let's look at this image right here. We've got the same gentleman, but notice how one suit fits and the other one is way too large. Notice how the suit that fits, it complements him. It makes him look great. The suit that doesn't fit, yeah, it doesn't matter that he spent thousands of dollars on it. It just looks bad. And you may think this is obvious, but the problem is when you walk into a store, the items being pushed on you are caught in a fashion trend. Yeah, 15 years ago, we saw really tight, ultra small suits being pushed. Now the pendulum is swinging to the other side where guys are starting to wear baggy suits. The key that you need to understand is depending on your body type, there is going to be a range of fits that suit your natural build. But the key here is to find the cut that works for you, and if you're buying an item that can be adjusted, that can be tailored, which is, by the way, most clothing, then get it adjusted to fit you better. In fact, one question I usually ask guys who are looking to improve their style, what's the name of your tailor? If you don't have a tailor, then go out there and find one, because these guys can work wonders in making your dress shirts, in making your trousers, your jeans, your jackets fit you better, and hence making you look better. Now, proportion in style is a little bit more advanced, but it is not the same thing as clothing fit. In fact, when we look at this image right here, we can see the difference in proportion of the head. Notice how on the giant man, the head overall is smaller in proportion to the body. Compare that to a smaller man. His head in proportion to his body is going to be larger. Now, you don't need to be an expert on proportions, but when you're working with your tailor, when you are finding clothing that suits you, you want to make sure it is balancing your proportions. So if you're shaped like a pear, you've got narrow shoulders but wider hips, you're going to want to make sure to wear a jacket that actually builds out the shoulders a bit. It doesn't have to be too much, but if you don't wear that jacket and you wear a light colored shirt with dark trousers, your pear shape, and let's face it, most guys don't like this shape, is going to be exaggerated. Now, some of that logic also applies to a shorter man, because your head in proportion to your body is going to be larger, so jackets are going to build out the shoulders and therefore make your head look more proportioned. On the flip side, if you're muscular, if you're a bodybuilder, you are not going to want to wear an overly structured jacket. No, if you're looking at sports jackets, you want to look for a jacket with Neapolitan shoulders. These are going to be smoother, almost no padding, and they're going to make you look good, not like a cartoon character. You see, part of this rewire is to stop looking like a clown. Gents, what I'm talking about here is to understand the basics for color coordination in a man's wardrobe. So rule number one, neutrals are your friend. Now, neutrals are going to be those base colors that you build everything else on. We're talking navies, blacks, grays, whites, khakis. These colors are your foundation, and in most cases are going to make up over 80% of your wardrobe. Seriously, in my case, I think they probably make up more than 90% of my wardrobe. And although that may sound boring, it's not. You see, having a base wardrobe of neutral colored clothing enables you to build a wardrobe that's relatively interchangeable. Which, if you're not familiar with that concept, come on, watch more of my videos, but I talk about the power of interchangeability. You can own less clothing, get more combinations out of it. Now, what about the fun colors? Reds, golds, orange. So these are accent colors, and I'm going to encourage you, for the most part, to reserve these to accessories, like pocket squares, neckties. Occasionally bring them into patterns on a shirt, but think colors like this as spices in a dish. They should bring out the flavor, not overpower it. Seriously, have you ever added too much salt to soup? What do you got to do? You've got to add more water. You've got to make more soup because you really can't extract it. And yeah, too much color, too much brightness can really overpower, ruin an outfit. Now, what about burgundy, olive green, deep purple? Some of these colors that you guys know, hey, this looks great on me. Every time I wear this color, I get compliments. How do you bring that into your wardrobe? So colors like this, I like to call accentuating colors. These ones work for your skin tone. They don't fit in the neutrals. They're not as bright as accents, but these are colors that you gravitate towards because you naturally know they look good on you. Well, gents, when you find colors like this, don't be afraid to throw them into your wardrobe. These ones can easily make up 10 to 15% of a well-dressed man's closet. And when it comes to matching, gents, don't be afraid of color blocking. So what I mean by that is when it comes to footwear, when it comes to trousers, when it comes to shirts, when it comes to jackets, you've got set colors that you in general gravitate towards with those particular items. An easy example here is footwear. A lot of men that go towards black dress shoes go towards black boots. They like most of their shoes dark, aka black. And if you think about it, it makes sense because all your belts are black or they're made to match dark colored shoes. So if you were to bring in a pair of light tan shoes, you may like them, but all of a sudden you're having an issue finding other accessories they work with. They don't seem to work with most of the trousers that you've selected for your collection of black shoes. Now again, gents, everything I'm talking about here are general guidelines. You can always break the rules, especially when you start to understand the foundations of style. And you realize those foundations, those guidelines can actually be bent because you know that, hey, I can bring in a red shirt, I can bring in a light pink shirt, and you like the way it looks. Gents, all the more power to you. If you can wear it with confidence, go for it. Now, if you're looking to level up your style, you really need to check out my free community over on School. I've set this community up so we've got free classes that you can make your way through step by step and learn the basic foundations of men's style. We actually have giveaways. In fact, this year alone, I've given away over $15,000 in gear that has accumulated here in my office, and I love sending it out to you guys free of charge. And I have to say, the men that are in this group are friggin' awesome. We've got a no a-hole policy. People treat each other with respect. And what we've managed to create in this community is a place where a man can come in and ask questions and get some solid advice. So gents, use the link in the description of today's video. Go check out our free communities on School. These are for you to become the man you know yourself to be. Next up, let's look beyond color and pay attention to the build and the quality of the clothing that you're putting on your body. Now, up to this point, I haven't really talked a lot about casual clothing, but you can actually look like the man in charge, especially in the right environment, by wearing good quality, well-constructed casual clothing. This is evident especially in footwear. When you look at well-constructed boots, whether they're Western boots, whether they're work boots, or even in streetwear when we're getting into sneakers. Often the key differentiators here between something that's cheap and something that's quality made is the material that they use and the details in the stitching. You see, quality materials, whether it's worsted wool or it's leather, it just simply is going to cost more. When it comes to leathers, the quality leather is going to make up less of the hide, therefore it's just a premium because there's only so much of it. When it comes to worsted wools or really high thread cottons like we see in luxury shirts and luxury jackets, well, these fabrics are usually made in specific mills that specialize in weaving these fabrics, which are very tight, have high quality controls, and in the case of clothing, have a particular drape. This is the way the fabric is going to lay, basically the way it hangs on the body. Now, if none of that made sense, understand this. Good quality, well-made clothing, footwear, accessories, these things are usually going to cost more. The best thing you can do to understand quality is to get your hands on quality, to go in the best menswear store in your area and to touch a really nice jacket, to get your hands on a really well-made pair of boots. And what you're going to find when you're examining those really expensive pair of dress shoes is you're going to notice the stitching, you're going to notice the build quality, you're going to notice all these details that are poorly replicated or completely missing in cheaper items. Now understand, I'm not saying you always have to spend a lot of money to get great quality, but I will warn you that if you don't take the time to understand the basics of build quality and construction, you're more likely to get ripped off. The next step to rewire how you think about style is to be inspired and to imitate. So a lot of guys get confused when it comes to style because they think that they have to be 100% original. In their mind, when developing their style, they feel it needs to be 100% unique, which if you think about it is a lot of work and 100% unnecessary. No, gents, make it easy. Find a look that you absolutely love and then imitate it, making it yours. Maybe find an actor, an Instagram influencer whose style you resonate with and straight up copy it, because the reality is you're never going to exactly copy it, and everyone that sees you, they're going to think it's your look. They're not going to know that you took that look from Tom Hardy, Brad Pitt, Michael B. Jordan, or whatever online influencer you were impacted by. But gents, having that inspiration and then working to imitate it, this is your direction when you're out there trying to figure things out, when you're looking to piece items together, and it's going to help ensure you get the look, you get the outfits that you're shooting for. Next up, we have Purge and evaluate. On a side note, the Purge movies, I absolutely love them. I don't know why they're such a guilty pleasure, especially the first one. Now, purging when it comes to your wardrobe is simply to eliminate the items that are causing confusion. The reality for a lot of guys is that they have clothing in their closet that they just need to get rid of. Seriously, we want to go through your closet and divide everything into 3 categories. We've got love it, we've got like it, and then we have lose it. So if it doesn't fit you, and it can't be adjusted to fit you, if it is stained, if it cannot be repaired, if you haven't worn the item for 2 years and you're never going to wear the item, all these items you want to throw into the lose it pile. Now, I know some of you guys are hoarders and you're going to say, Antonio, I may need that in 5 years. In that case, put it into a box, tape it up, put the date on it, and in 5 years, when you find this box and you haven't opened it, you know that you can donate it safely. Now, the like it category for most guys, this is where the majority of their clothing is going to go. These are pieces that get the job done. You like them, but when you put these items on, they don't enhance your image. You don't feel like $1 million putting these pieces on. Now, the love it category, again, for most guys, is going to be a small percentage. These are the items in that particular color with that particular pattern that every time you wear it, you get a compliment. You feel good. It's that sports jacket that every time you put it on, you feel like $1 million. It's those boots that make you taller, and every time you wear them, you feel like the man. And it's this love it category that you want to pay special attention to, because in an ideal world, everything in your closet is eventually going to fall into this category. So with the items you're putting in there, you want to say, hey, is there an item here that I need to replace? I need to get either another one, or I need to make sure I get something like it, because if I were to lose this item, it really would leave a hole in my wardrobe. In addition, now that we've gotten rid of some items that were in the lose it category, you may identify, hey, you know what? I don't have a pair of jeans that I love. This is a big hole in my wardrobe that I need to fill. Do you not have a single casual jacket that you can slip on that makes you look great in a color that complements your skin tone? If you don't have this, and hey, we're in winter, the height of the season, this is something you need to be looking for. Maybe you've got a lot of dress shirts, but none of them fit you well. You've lost weight. Congratulations. Guess what? Now reward yourself by going out there and finding a dress shirt that doesn't have to be in any fancy color. You can go with a white, but instead you choose one that fits your new body type and shows off all the time that you've put into the gym. And when it comes to footwear, depending on your style, you can go with a pair of dress boots, maybe Chukkas or Chelseas, or if you want something a little bit dressier, find a pair of loafers that every time you put these on, you feel amazing. You love the way the colors on that shoe play with each other. Our end goal here is to be able to put together at least one, preferably a few good looking outfits that when you look at yourself in the mirror, you can't help but agree that, damn, I look good. Next up, you want to invest in interchangeable staples. So earlier in this video, we talked about identifying the holes in your wardrobe. You want to put together some outfits, and you probably have identified maybe a pair of trousers, a few shirts, maybe a jacket, maybe a few pairs of shoes, that if you just added these things to your wardrobe, all of a sudden you would have a lot more possibilities, especially if you loved every single one of those items. Well, one of the keys to loving an item isn't necessarily to getting compliments all the time on it, but it really comes down to your ability to wear it with pretty much anything. Hence why I push interchangeability. Now, interchangeability, in case you don't remember, that's where your jacket, your shirt, your trousers, your shoes, everything works together. So in this case, we have 16 items, 4 in each category, and someone that doesn't understand interchangeability may say, oh, that's going to be perfect for 4 outfits. However, if you understand interchangeability, you know that you can actually wear any of those trousers with any of those shoes, with any of those jackets, with any of those shirts, and therefore the number of outfits here isn't 4, it's actually 256. Yeah, the first time someone's exposed this, it's mind-blowing. The idea that you can own less clothing if it all mixes and matches with everything else in your wardrobe and be able to get more outfits. I mean, come on, this is what we're talking about, right? Now, an important concept to understand with interchangeability is the need for neutral colors. Black, white, navy, gray, brown, tan, and all the other shades of those aforementioned colors. These colors are very easy to mix and match, therefore they become cornerstone pieces for an interchangeable wardrobe. The next step is building up your wardrobe. Now, we've talked about interchangeability, we've talked about specific colors, and by the way, if you want specific color advice, I will link to that video down in the description. But in general, when it comes to a man's wardrobe, we're going to have 3 items: trousers, shirts, and jackets. Now, your pants, aka your trousers, are an item a lot of guys don't think much about, which makes sense because they're usually a base layer. They're the canvas in which the other items sit on. However, the quality of your canvas makes a big difference. Now, a lot of guys, they're going to default to denim, maybe a dark indigo, or maybe they're going to go with a pair of cotton chinos, which nothing wrong with those. Those 2 pieces are classics. But if you want to dress it up a bit, if you want to look like top 1%, then consider bringing in some wool trousers. A flannel in gray or charcoal is not only going to be more elegant, but as the fact that gray is a non-color, it's going to match pretty much anything. Other trousers a man may want to consider are going to be cavalry twill, or if you can find it, moleskin. And if you like chinos and you like cottons, maybe go for a darker color. Now, when it comes to shirts, again, this is going to depend on who you're being inspired by. If you're going for a more casual look, let's say the pants you chose were actually dark colored joggers, then in that case, a solid color crew t-shirt or v-neck t-shirt is going to work. If you want something a little bit more stylish, consider a Henley. The buttons right there on the front just seem to level it up one step above a t-shirt. However, for most guys, if they're going for the elite look, I'm going to recommend a shirt with a collar. Now, starting things off, we can go with a soft collar like we see in a classic polo. And right above that, in a solid color, we're going to see a casual button down. Now, the difference between a casual button down and a dress shirt oftentimes is going to be the material, and dress shirts by historic definition are of a lighter color. White is the classic, but we're also going to see light blues. And nowadays, of course, it's not uncommon to find a dress shirt in any of the pastels. And of course, let's not forget patterns. The classic stripes in a variety of widths, a variety of colors, and the most casual of dress shirts, the checks. So this next step, let's talk about building the foundation of your wardrobe, your footwear. Oxford, derbies, Chelsea boots, loafers, dress boots, casual boots, leather sneakers. Now, your choice here really depends on the image you're wanting to imitate, the uniform you're trying to put together, the style that you're trying to capture. Now, in general, when we're talking elite styles, most of these are going to be a little bit more formal. That's where you're going to see suits, you're going to see sports jackets, blazers. However, you can put together casual looks that scream silent luxury. I think that show Billion did a really good job of showing how casual clothing can still really have an elegant, timeless look to it. But the foundation of all this is the right footwear and making sure that footwear is in good condition and taken care of, especially in between wears. If you're going to go for white sneakers, then keep them white. So now let's get into jackets. And we're going to talk about sports jackets, we're going to talk about suit jackets, but before that, I want to talk about the importance of casual jackets. And the reason they're important is that so many men have forgotten that when a man puts on a jacket, it builds up the shoulders, it lengthens the torso, it slims up his silhouette. The reality, gents, is almost every man looks better with a jacket on, whether it be casual, whether it be a bit dressy. So knowing this, even if you're putting together and you're inspired to put together a casual wardrobe, look for casual jackets that enhance your style. Fatigue jackets, safari style jackets, leather jackets, suede jackets, jean jackets, even shirt jackets and sweater jackets can enhance a man's silhouette, and the layering, especially with a collared shirt, can give a much more elegant, timeless style to what would have been an otherwise relatively boring outfit. Now, all that being said, if you could learn to master the sports jacket or the blazer, this is going to be a huge step up for most men, even in a casual setting. And one of the things I talked about at the beginning of this video is dressing for yourself. I don't know about you, but I like to be mistaken as the man in charge. And I promise you, gents, if you start wearing a sports jacket, if you start wearing a blazer, or you start wearing a suit even casually, people are going to start calling you sir. They're going to think you're the guy running things. And it's funny, the biggest excuse I hear about this isn't so much the money, because you can actually find suits relatively inexpensively, but actually so many guys assume that it's uncomfortable. It's not uncomfortable, it's unfamiliar. But once you start leveling up your style, again, once you start dressing for yourself, because you know when you own your image, when you command respect by the way that you dress, gents, it's a game changer. And what I love about this, especially compared to fitness and a lot of other self-improvement things, you could actually improve your style in a single afternoon. Next up, let's talk about your accessories, the small things, sunglasses. I think that, this right here, they frame your face. Find a style that suits you. I see so many guys that spend money on a great haircut, got a great outfit on, and their sunglasses absolutely suck. Now, aviators are going to be the go-to suit most face shapes, but I love Club Masters. They're not as difficult to wear as Wayfarers, but yet the style factor on these things, it really can level up your look. And the only face shape I don't think they work for is if you've got a wider forehead and a thinner jaw, then you're going to want to avoid that style. But in that case, maybe look at the Wayfarers or just stick with the aviators. Now, the next accessory you want to pay attention to is the watch. Now, studies have shown that most people don't know a whole lot about watches or the watch brands. So don't get fixated on a Rolex and think you got to spend, $10,000 plus on a watch for it to be impressive. Now, find a brand, find a style that suits you. Most people, if they even notice the watch, will just simply notice it because it has a bit of shine, because it has a bit of color, or perhaps because it's a bit larger. But in any case, a true watch aficionado, he's going to be impressed that you're just simply another watch guy. And what's really fun here is you get to start the conversation with other watch people. And that's where, if you do get into watches, then that's where you start going down this whole rabbit hole. And as this chart shows here, you start off with a Seiko, you eventually go and spend all this money, you mortgage your house to get that one watch, and then where do you end up going at the end of the whole journey? Yes, back to that original Seiko that you loved. Yeah, me personally, I love watches, but I am overspending a lot of money on them. Now, in the case of the gentleman that I talked about earlier that had offered to fly me out, he was going to be a traveling businessman, and he was going to be giving presentations. He was representing his company. He had a lot of money that was flowing in and out. And so in this case, we actually looked for a briefcase and for a series of luggage and bags that actually better suited the style that he wanted to project. Now, this isn't going to be for everybody, but I do think spending money on a nice bag that's going to serve you, especially made from leather of high quality, this is going to be a lifetime investment. So I do think spending a little bit more money here is warranted, especially if you're still using that backpack that you used as a student over a decade ago. Yeah, if you've got a suit jacket, if you've got a sport jacket or a blazer jacket, you do not want to throw a backpack on that. It can ruin the shoulders and just, it's like trying to mix oil and water. It just doesn't go. That being said, if you love backpacks, there are some higher quality, some really nice ones I've talked about before in my videos. But yeah, there are ways to step up the backpack. I'm not throwing it under the bus. I think it's a useful accessory, a useful tool. But yeah, you want the style of that backpack to work with the style you are projecting with your clothing and your image. Now, up to this point, we've been talking about clothing, but now let's talk about your grooming. Hair, skin, nails, you're probably doing the basics. But if you want to level up your game, if you want to rebuild your image, you need to set appointments with professionals. Find and set up appointments with the best stylist, the best esthetician, and yes, make an appointment at a salon for a manicure and possibly even a pedicure. I know some of you guys are like, Antonio, come on, I'm a man. I would never do that stuff. Here's the deal. If you're thinking that way, you probably are scared of what other people are going to say or think. And even if you aren't, well, let me explain my logic here. In my experience, having helped thousands of men improve their image over the last decade, I find it's the men who invest a little bit of money, yes, put their hard-earned dollars down on the table to improve their image. These are the guys that actually pay attention, show up, and do the work. So with your hair, you're going to cheat on your barber. Yes, you've been going to the same guy for 20 years. Here's the thing. He's been giving you the same cut you've always asked for versus a stylist is going to shampoo your hair and look at your face shape. Look at the way maybe your hair is thinning and find a style that actually suits you. And pay attention to what he or she's doing. Ask questions about the product they're using, about, hey, you're using a blow dryer. I've never used one. How would I use this? Ask questions about how to better take care of your hair. And if you've got a beard, if you've got a mustache, if you've got hair growing everywhere and you've always wondered, hey, how would I go about manscaping? Don't be afraid to ask these questions to get a suggestion, because let's get over to the manicure, the pedicure. Now, I understand the hesitation on this one. This is a domain mostly of women, but hey, walk in there and if nothing else, treat yourself to the massage, to just simply feeling like a king. But the reality is when a man spends money on his nails, he actually sees why so many women love this. And if you're one of those guys that bite your nails after you've spent $50 to $100 to take care of your nails, you're going to find all of a sudden, you know what? I'm not going to bite on something that I spent good money on. And now let's talk about estheticians. It's spelled two different ways. There are two types out there. In any case, you want to go to somebody that has seen hundreds, if not thousands of people and their skin and can actually go over on your skin and identify, hey, you know, I've always wondered, is that a mole or is that some type of cancerous thing that I need to maybe go see a doctor about? But seriously, these estheticians, they love to teach people about, okay, you want to use this product, you want to set up this routine. And again, when you've spent a little bit of money on this, you are more likely to follow through and to start taking steps to just simply take care of the largest organ on your body. Yes, that's your skin, guys. Get your mind out of the gutter. Next up, we've got practice, evaluate, and adjust. So you can have a wardrobe of amazing clothing, an awesome watch, a hairstyle that oozes style. But unless you practice putting it together and wearing it out and putting in the reps, well, gents, if you're not used to wearing it, it is going to be a costume. You see, to have true style, sprezzatura, is to actually be able to wear that clothing with effortless ease, or at least for it to appear as effortless ease. Because yes, there's a bit of maintenance and upkeep, you got to shine the shoes, but by practicing putting these outfits together and actually wearing them out and about, you're then going to be able to evaluate what works. What do you actually like? What do you feel comfortable wearing? What gets you compliments? And if compliments don't matter, because I know they don't matter to a lot of you guys. Yes, you tell me in the comments. Well, then how does that clothing actually make you feel? And is there anything you want to improve? And that's where you're going to adjust. You're going to find some items you're going to buy and you're going to have wasted your money because you're not going to like them as much as you thought you were. Don't worry. That's not a bad thing. That just means you are human. But by going through this loop, you're going to actually get value from the new wardrobe, the new image that you've created. And that being said, gents, I've got you covered with another video. Boom, right here. Yeah, come on. Don't stop watching. I got you covered. Boom, right here. Check it out. Solid video. Oh, yeah, I know you'll like it right there. Come on. Click. Come on. Boom, right there.